Hey guys, welcome to part 12 of What If Yuji Was an Uchiha. Last time we left off after Yuji surviving his execution and agreeing to help save Megumi's sister from the Culling Games. With everyone caught up, let's begin. As Megumi plans to regroup at Jujutsu High and contact Master Tengen to seek answers about unsealing Satoruga and understanding Geto's objectives, Yuji raises a pressing question about Nobara's whereabouts. Megumi reveals that Nobara is resting at Jujutsu High, bringing some relief to Yuji. However, his concern shifts to Maki, who was last seen with the Zenin clan elder during the incident. With a heavy heart, Megumi admits that he doesn't know what happened to Maki as they were separated and he hasn't seen her since. Yuji tries to mask his emotions, but his disappointment and worry are evident as he lowers his gaze, repeating, "I get it." As Choso suggests a way past the concealing barrier, he inadvertently invades Megumi's personal space, causing discomfort, though Yuta appreciates his contribution. When Yuji seeks clarification, Choso reminds them of Mahito's past theft of Sukuna's fingers and the death painting wounds from Jujutsu High, proposing they do the same. With cautious optimism, Yuji, Megumi, Yuta, and Choso enter Jujutsu High and regroup with Yuki, Nobara, and Maki in a hidden chamber. Maki's appearance has undergone a significant transformation, marked by shorter hair, a bandaged left eye, and extensive burn scars from her encounter with Jogo's flames. Concerned, Yuji approaches Maki and questions if she should be moving about given her condition. Yuki explains that even reverse cursed techniques couldn't fully heal her burn scars, crediting Maki's survival to her inherent physical resilience granted by heavenly restriction. Observing Maki's solemn expression, Yuji attempts to uplift the mood by complimenting her new appearance, activating his Sharingan to etch her badass image into his memory. His attempt at lighten the mood earns a laugh from Maki, who teasingly questions if his special eyes are solely for admiring her transformation. To which Yuji winks and deactivates his Sharingan. Maki then asks Megumi about their plan to slip past the concealing barrier. Choso volunteers to inform the group and explains that between the correct door and the tomb is the cursed warehouse where his brothers are being stored. Choso's connection to them will allow him to guide everyone to the correct door. Maki is satisfied with the plan, but she needs clarification on exactly who Choso, this random newcomer, is. After a brief silence, Yuji reluctantly tells everyone to just think of Choso as his big brother for now. Choso is shocked and excited to hear Yuji yelling his name out. Embarrassed, Yuji guides everyone outside the room onto their mission, leaving Choso in the background. Choso confidently leads the group to the designated door, certain that his brothers are just beyond it. However, upon opening it, they are greeted not by solid ground but by a vast drop into a dense forest of ancient trees. Yuji is taken aback by the unexpected sight, expressing his surprise. Yuki urges them to press forward, explaining that they need to venture deeper into the forest to find an elevator that will take them down to the tomb. As they pass by the cursed warehouse, Choso pauses briefly, his hand resting on the doors as he addresses his sleeping brothers, promising to return soon. Descending via the elevator, they arrive at the tombs of the Star Corridor and begin their journey toward Tengen's location. Along the way, Yuji notices bloodstains on the ground and inquires about their origin. Yuki reveals that they are remnants of the events that unfolded 11 years ago, when the Jujutsu world was thrown into chaos, invoking images of Tojifa Shigeru in her mind. Despite the confusion of the students, Yuki leads them onward, guiding them to the main shrine. However, as they step inside, they are met with a disorienting sight: a vast expanse of white emptiness, leaving everyone bewildered and uncertain. Yuki says Tengen is rejecting them. Tengen normally doesn't interact with the world, but Yuki thought the contact was possible now that the 6 eyes have been sealed. She also considers the possibility that Tengen isn't rejecting everyone, just her. Megumi is unsure of what to do and Yuta tells everyone they should head back since Uzumaki doesn't have time to waste. Suddenly, a voice asks why they're leaving so soon, stopping the group from going. Master Tengen reveals themselves and says it's a pleasure to meet the children of the Zenin, Mishizen's descendant, the death painting womb, and Sukuna's vessel. As everyone reacts with surprise to Tengen's appearance, Yuki voices her confusion, questioning why Tengen didn't acknowledge her in their initial greeting. Tengen calmly responds that this isn't their first encounter, hinting at a past connection between them. Yuki's next inquiry pertains to the closure of the tombs of the Star Corridor. Tengen reveals that the corridor was sealed off out of fear, as they couldn't discern Yuki's true intentions and were wary of potential alignment with Kenjaku. Confused on who Kenjaku was, Yuki repeats the name. Tengen then explains that Kenjaku is the entity that once inhabited Noritoshi Kamo's body and now resides within Suguru Geto's form. Interrupting the weighty discussion, Yuji boldly interjects with a question about Tengen's peculiar appearance. While Megumi silently acknowledges Yuji's audacity, Tengen patiently explains that their cursed technique grants immortality but not eternal youth. Due to the failure of a new plasma vessel to manifest 11 years prior, Tengen's aging process accelerated, resulting in a physical transformation. They were compelled to adapt and evolve, ultimately merging with the essence of the world itself. Megumi then points them back on track, asking what Kenjaku's plan is. Tengen then explains Kenjaku plans to use the Culling Games to gather cursed energy and then use cursed spirit manipulation to force her to merge with the whole world. Maki asks why he is only trying this now after 1,000 years. Tengen then explains that the star plasma vessel is always linked to a Six Eyes user like Gojo, who protects the user, allowing them to merge with her. However, 11 years ago, Toji, who isn't bound by cursed energy, broke that destiny and killed the star plasma vessel, forcing her to become more cursed than man, making her susceptible to curse manipulation so he can force the merger. They then go over the rules of the Culling Games and how to counter them, deciding what everyone will do to prepare for the games. Yuki and Choso will stay and protect Master Tengen, Maki will return to the Zenin clan to collect weapons, and Yuji and Megumi will persuade the suspended third-year Hikari to join them. Maki ventures back to the Zenin household, an unwelcoming place she calls home, to gather cursed tools. She encounters Naoya, who taunts her for her injuries, but she brushes off his mockery. Naoya, believing Maki's only worth was her beauty, questions her allegiance to Megumi and Yuta. Ignoring him, Maki proceeds underground, guided by a set of keys given by the clan head. In the underground corridor, Maki's mother confronts her, expressing disappointment and urging her to make the clan proud. Maki disregards her mother's pleas and proceeds to unseal the cursed warehouse. However, she is shocked to find her father inside, with her injured sister Mai held captive. Ogi, her father, reveals he anticipated her arrival and emptied the warehouse to prevent any emergencies. A standoff ensues, with Ogi using Mai as a bargaining chip. Maki wields Dragonbone, a powerful cursed tool, intending to outsmart her father. As the confrontation escalates, Ogi inflicts severe injuries on Maki. Defeated, Maki learns that Ogi's resentment stems from his belief that his children are worthless. He condemns them to face cursed spirits in a training area, leaving them to their fate. Before the curses descend, Mai resuscitates Maki, sacrificing herself in the process. In a dreamlike space, Mai imparts a final message to Maki, explaining their intertwined fate and urging her to destroy everything. Overwhelmed with grief, Maki mourns her sister's sacrifice. As Ogi walks away, Maki emerges from the shadows, confronting him with her newfound resolve. Remembering the fear instilled by another cursed energyless warrior, Toji Zenin, Ogi meets his demise at Maki's hands, soon followed by the Kukuru unit, and the Here, ending the Zenin clan. According to the official record, the Zenin clan members who were not present that day all died violent deaths. No residuals were found other than trace amounts from a cursed tool. Days later, the Gaho and Kamo clans proposed removing the Zenin clan from the big three sorcerer families just like the Uchiha had been forgotten in the past. Elsewhere, in order to meet Hikari, Megumi and Yuji infiltrate the fight club he runs, concealing their affiliation with Jujutsu High. Yuji is set to fight an opponent to gain trust while Megumi gathers information. To Yuji's surprise, his opponent is Panda Senpai. They put on a great show, impressing Hikari, who calls for Yuji to meet him. However, Hikari receives an emergency call from Kairura, prompting Yuji's mistake of pretending not to know Gojo, resulting in a punch to the face. Meanwhile, outside, Megumi and Panda fight Kairura, managing to outsmart her technique. Suddenly, Yuji is thrown out of the monitor room. Hikari walks outside, irritation written all over his facial expression. Yuji tells Megumi and Panda to stay out of it, prompting Hikari to believe he's being underestimated. He immediately throws a devastating punch that smashes Yuji's face and sends him reeling across the roof. Megumi, Panda, and even Kairura are troubled by how hard the hit is. Hikari notices that Yuji isn't even resisting and gets back to his feet before completely falling to the ground. Yuji defiantly blows the blood out of his nose, conveying his hatred for curses. Hikari comments that he's nuts, noting that his adversary doesn't even intend to dodge. This isn't a life or death battle like in Shibuya, so Yuji won't dodge or fight back anymore until Hikari breaks. Yuji's lack of resistance all but confirms he's not a spy, so Hikari says he'll hear Yuji out on the condition he can remain standing. Hikari flares up his cursed energy, and Kairura urges him to listen out of concern for Yuji, telling him that they just want his help. Hikari claims that he just said he'll listen and then asks Yuji why he's asking him for help specifically. Yuji expresses his hatred for curses and his determination to eliminate them. Hikari is annoyed by Yuji's response and winds up for another punch. Megumi expresses concern for Yuji, believing he can't afford to get hit anymore. Hikari strikes Yuji with the hardest blow yet, sending him flying across the roof into the wall and appearing to incapacitate him. Hikari reveals that Satoru Gojo has said his cursed energy has an edge to it, hence the cutting sensation Yuji was experiencing from getting hit. Hikari begins to tell Megumi and Panda to grab Yuji and leave, but Yuji suddenly reappears behind him. Hikari is genuinely surprised and backs up, wondering how he's still standing after suffering 3 blows unguarded. He asks Yuji what he is, and the first year repeats he's just a sorcerer. Yuji expresses his hatred for curses and his enjoyment in eliminating them, activating his main Gekyo Sharingan. He explains that his purpose is to protect people from curses, and if joining forces with Hikari can help achieve that goal, he's willing to do whatever it takes. Then Yuji gets back in Hikari's face, looks him in the eye, and asks him senpai what his function is. Hikari meets Yuji's gaze and asks himself if this is Yuji's look in fever. He wants to keep punching Yuji, but Kairura interrupts to get Hikari's attention. Kairura asks Hikari if Yuji's fever is burning hot enough for him yet, surprising Hikari. He recognizes that Kairura's point is undeniable, acknowledging that it's true and that the fever never lies. Hikari suddenly agrees to hear Yuji out and tells Megumi and Panda he's finally willing to cut a deal. Megumi and Panda are confused as to what just occurred, as Megumi doesn't at all understand how things got resolved all of a sudden. He asks Kairura if what they said convinced him, which they confirm. Kairura reveals that while they still hate the higher-ups, they still recognize that Hikari's fever burned the hottest while he was helping people at Jujutsu High. Hakari finally sits down and listens to what Yuji and Megumi have to say. Since it is quicker than talking, Yuji puts Hakari and Kairura under a genjutsu where they see the events of Shibuya from Uji's perspective. Hakari expresses that he's bummed out now that everyone who's ever taken care of him is out of the picture. Apparently, he hasn't been this sad since someone named Yakul was shot in the butt with an arrow. Hakari agrees to help combat the Culling Game, which gives Megumi a small sense of relief and makes the others smile. However, Hakari tells them not to get the wrong idea and makes it a point that everyone understands this is a deal, and they must return the favor in the future. Panda knows Hakari wants revisions to Jujutsu regulations and asks to know exactly what he desires. Megumi comments that he doesn't think whatever it is will be difficult, annoying Hakari since he was the one who was being asked. Hakari calls Megumi sea urchin head and asks what he could possibly know, prompting Megumi to reveal that he's head of the Zenin clan. Shocked, Hakari finds this even more of a surprise than the news about Gojo and Yuga. He believes that with the backing of the big three families, making revisions to regulations will be easy. The hard part of keeping the Zenin clan from taking control of the Fight Club would come afterward. In order to get ahead of this potential issue, Hakari puts on a friendly expression and asks Megumi to be buds. Unbeknownst to both of them, Maki annihilates the Zenin clan the next day. With everyone in agreement, Yuji states they need to decide who's going to what colony when suddenly Kogan appears above Yuji and makes a loud ringing noise. Kogan announces that a player has added a new rule to the game, allowing players to have access to information on other players. This information includes their name, number of points, number of rules added, and their current colony. This rule was added by Hajime Kashimo, an elite player dominating Tokyo No. 2 colony. After making the announcement, Kogan introduces itself to Yuji. It has a different voice than the announcement because now it's acting as the liaison for the Culling Game assigned to Yuji. Megumi doesn't understand why Yuji is already being considered a player before entering a barrier colony. Yuji believes it has something to do with Sukuna and their eyes. Perhaps that's how Sukuna became a cursed object. Megumi points out that's still strange because Yuji ingested Sukuna's finger of his own will, unlike other past sorcerers who were in contracts with Kenjaku. Yuji has Kogan show him his own player info, and Megumi uses the list to find Kashimo's name, identifying them as the one who added the rule. Megumi believes they can get through the Culling Game without killing anyone by forcing someone with enough points to add a rule. The two players that fit the bill are Hajime Kashimo and Hiromi Higuruma. In order to save Zumaiki, the first rule they add needs to offset Rule 8, which details cursed technique removal after 19 days of inactivity. Megumi states they can do so by adding a rule that allows players to transfer points between each other. After adding that rule, Megumi suggests adding another one that allows players to spend points to remove themselves from the game entirely. Hakari points out that might conflict with the long-lasting rules on the game, but Megumi figures maybe it'll work if a non-player substitutes them. It's ultimately up to the game master, but regardless, the team now has a plan of action. As they look for the angel to undo the seal on Prison Realm, they will target Hajime Kashimo and Hiromi Higuruma, and hunt them down. Okay guys, this is the end of this part of What If Yuji Was an Uchiha. If you enjoyed, leave a like and comment, as well as subscribing with notifications enabled. With that out the way, this is Demonic Saiyan saying bye.